Okay, the first thing you want to do when you receive your camera is to remove this little cover on the back. This is where the memory card goes. So a little posi drive or a Phillips screwdriver should be fine in there. Okay, so there's your SD card, your micro SD card. Now this goes in with the top of the card facing the back of the camera, like that, and then put your cover back on. Okay, that's the memory card installation. Put the aerial on the back of the camera. Okay, so that's the initial setup of the camera and the parts. You do get an Ethernet cable, some fixing screws, and the little hex key, the little Allen key in there is quite important. I'm going to need that later to adjust the direction of the camera with these three screws, so don't lose that hex key. Okay, the end of the cable, you've got a power cable which goes obviously to this power adapter. You've got a reset button on there. Just put the cap on there, don't touch that unless you get any issues with the camera. And you've got your Ethernet socket there, which we'll need to connect this cable and connect to the router. So that's the initial setup of that camera. We're now going to install the app, and I'll show you how to connect that to your router. Okay, so we've got the camera connected via the Ethernet cable to your router, and we've got the power cable connected to the power cable socket there. So after a few seconds this will sort of boot up. Okay, so the app that we need to install is called CamHi Pro. You can get that from the App Store or the Play Store. So you go into that and then you click Add Camera, and it's an IP camera. It's a new device. So we're basically saying that the power is on. Well, we connected this to the power so we can move to the next step. And it is connected to the network cable, so we can move to the next step. And these are the cameras that are already on my network. This one here ends in CAEBF, which is the top one there. So I click that one. So this is the unique ID for the camera at the top, and the password is, sorry, the username is admin and the password is admin. So this is just obviously the standard manufacturer's username and password. Once you've got this connected to your system, you would want to change that password as a priority. Okay, so we're going to add that. Okay, it's now looking for to set up your wireless, your Wi-Fi access to your system. So I look down the list there. These are all the Wi-Fi signals. Top one is mine. I'll just put in this password, so I'm going to blur this out. So now we configure wireless and add device. Okay, we'll leave it just set as camera at the minute. You can change this. You can change this later. I'll confirm that. So this says that this is online. If you click in that, there you go. You can see that's working there. So just to run through a few settings on this, we go through this initial part. We can click onto the HD there via that little button, so that will then come through into HD quality. So we're going to the settings for this now. So actually just go back to that. Now this is saying that this is online, so we've put in the Wi-Fi details. So if I disconnect that Ethernet cable from the router there, this should say connecting now because it's dropped its connection, its wired connection. It's going to be looking for the wireless connection. Okay, so we're back online now, and then you can click that. So that's now a Wi-Fi signal. Okay, so we can go into the settings for this, and just in the video settings, actually what we'll do first is the time settings. Time settings is the important one. We changed the device time zone to whichever time zone you're at. Now we're in the where are we? Europe, Dublin, and then we'll turn on daylight savings, and then save time zone for device, and it will reboot the device, and this will take a few seconds. Okay, there's your device time. So that's that. So I'm going to the video settings, and you can alter these obviously with the quality that you want. I generally set these to 60 Hertz, which allows you to up the frames per second, and I put these in maximum. Now, the top one I will put in at 4,000. You use whatever you have success with. Okay, so that's generally what I put in there, and apply. The frames per second is basically how many images the camera will take in any given second. 30 seconds is going to give you a very smooth recording. If you just have that down as 1 frame per second, it's going to take basically like 1 photo every second, and it will be quite juddery. So just to adjust that for how smooth you want the footage, but bear in mind, the higher you have that number, say at 30, it will take up more space on the memory card, and obviously you won't be able to record as many days footage. So we're sorted with that. Audio settings, I'm going to leave that as fine. Just while we're in this setting, if you do look in the device information there, you will see the IP address. Okay, that's important if you want to check any of the footage on or any of the settings or any of the footage on your computer, but we'll talk about that later. So that's where you find your IP address. And for this particular camera, as far as I'm concerned, all I need is to know that 33 at the end. That's the sort of device number, if you will, on my system. So so that's that. So if you wanted to check any recorded footage on this camera, you would click that little memory card icon button there. Now there probably won't be any recordings in this because these will record. Just have a quick look. Where are we? First thing we should do really is format the card before we even try any to look at any footage. So if we go into the SD card setting, go into that, format the card. That will format. Okay, if you were to go into that, you would see a series of files in there, and you'll be able to either download them to your phone or play them. And you can actually search on this, via day or hour or that sort of thing. So that's where you would find any recordings. So that's a brief overview of the app, which is fairly straightforward and fairly solid. So okay, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, you can manage the cameras through the app pretty well. There's a few little bits that you can't do without going onto a web browser, so I'll just quickly show you how to do that. So if you go into the camera settings on the app, like I showed you, and you find the IP address for that camera, just type that into the address bar at the top. mine has been remembered there. It's 192.168.1, and then the 164 part at the end is the kind of camera address. So I'll just hit return on that, and you'll come to this page. It may give you the request sort of pop-up box to type in your username and password, which is, if it's still set as default, it's admin and admin, but you should have changed your password to something memorable that nobody else can guess. So you come to this page. If the language for any particular reason on this page is in Chinese or what have you, that's the little drop down selection box top right there. This is now asking me for login details because I'm changing that, but let's just do that. So that's in Chinese. You can change that just clicking on English there, so it's back to that. Okay, you click on PC view, and that's basically the camera at the front of my house, just overlooking the car there. Two options. If you come into this, you might need to allow Flash to play on your browser. So if you come to this and there's just a little sort of box there, just click on that, and you may need to just give it permission to just to allow Flash to run. If you come to this screen and the image is massive, just select the second stream on this little drop down box there. So that's really on the monitor side of things. You go into the settings, and then you can change pretty much all the things you can in the app. The only thing I really use this web access for is just removing the on-screen display of better what the camera's called. So if you go into media and then OSD set, I'm assuming that's on-screen display. You click in that, and then you can move around the timestamp. You can either turn the timestamp on or off, or you can move it around. By default it's top right, so I just leave that there. Camera name, I turn that off. You can call that what you want, but basically whatever you type in this camera name here, that will be recorded onto the footage. So I've just turned that on and called the camera name front. So if we go back in the monitor, you'll see there at top left it says front. So if you had multiple cameras set up, I don't know whether you're using this for factory use or what, you would be able to identify which area the camera is covering, but that's not of any use to me, so I just leave that turned off. Okay, the image, if you go into the image, you can adjust certain parameters regarding the the quality of the picture, the color, that sort of thing, to give you an idea. Brightness 54 is what it's set at there. If I turn that down, you'll see the picture change on there, so you can just hear the vehicles outside being picked up by the microphone, and that's. So I put that back to what it was, I think it was 53, 54. Okay, so that's fine. There's not really anything else you want to be messing with as such in there. If you do want to record at certain times rather than at all times, you can actually go into this schedule on there and just select when you want the camera to run. But there's not too much else in there that you're going to need. So just a quick demo of how you actually get into the web sort of access there for the cameras, and it's obviously it's the same for each camera. You would just change the last 3 digits in the web address there as to which one your camera is, and just put in the admin and your password, and you should be good to go.